Welcome back to episode 2 of the Stuck in My Room podcast. Today I have guest Jason Campbell. How's it going, Jason?
It's going awesome, man. How's it going with you?
Not too bad. How's your quarantine been so far?
Pretty decent. Can't complain. I'm technically still working and still got lots to do. So I've been busy. So it's not like I'm just sitting on my rump drinking. Not that I haven't been sitting on my rump drinking.
Nice.
Yes,
All right. Okay, we'll just dive in then.
for sure.
What got you into music in the first place? Did you grow up in a house of music? Did your parents play music or
It was kind of a weird situation, and it kind of like multi-tiered, I guess. When I was a kid, I had a piano in the house, and I think there was like a little ukulele guitar or something. I mean, I was little. But I always remember kind of tinkling on the keys of the piano when I was little. And then when I hit elementary school in kindergarten, we had a music program starting from the ground up. Usually, like when I got to school here, because I went from Nelson, that's where I was born and grew up, and then I went to Victoria, and then I came back to the mainland. When I got back to the mainland, like band in elementary school was like ukuleles.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "What's this garbage?" But we started with like acoustic guitars in kindergarten, and then in grade 1, you got to advance to like electric guitars, bass, drums, and vocals, whatever you kind of were into.
Mhm.
And so I started an acoustic guitar, learned a few of the chords, and those stuck with me, kind of through my life. And then when I think I hit grade 1, maybe even a little bit later, I wanted to jump to the drums.
Okay.
And I stuck to the drums basically till I was about 12 or 13. And my brother was a drummer when I was about that age, and he's like 6 years older than me, and he was way better.
Mhm.
And we didn't have the size of a house to facilitate 2 drum kits, so I kind of went back, I guess technically back to playing guitar. And yeah, that's kind of my sort of early
Introduction.
early introduction. Yeah, so I wouldn't say we were a musical house by any means, but but I mean, I got to kind of digress with that a little bit. I was adopted when I was about 9. So my early ages with, tinkling on the piano was with my blood family. And then my brother, when I was older, he was my adopted brother, and who's what I still call my brother right now.
Mhm.
So that when I got into that house, he was already a drummer, and me being a drummer sort of didn't, I guess felt like it didn't make sense,
Okay.
right? So it's like, and he had this massive drum kit. I think he'd purchased from some big name drummer, big name Canadian band, like I don't know, like Chilliwack or Simple Minds or something.
I was about to
And
say, was he trying to go for a Neil Peart thing or
Oh, it was huge. It was
Yeah.
like two kick drums, and like I think it was like 6 or 8 toms and roto toms and like so many cymbals you couldn't even count. And I mean, at that time it seemed like it. And so I just kind of like, well, you're really good and I'm not so good, so I'm gonna go play guitar. And it's sort of funny how the tables have turned now. My brother actually plays more guitar now than he does drums. You try to figure that one out, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
And was there a musician that kind of solidified your decision to continue with guitar or
I mean, early on, it was probably Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads. I always kind of had this weird affinity for Randy Rhoads that I kind of felt, and I mean, a lot of people might disagree with me, but if you listen to like Revelation Mother Earth, it's got that real ballady beginning and that really kind of heavy for its time middle section.
Mhm.
I kind of almost felt like that was the introduction to like early thrash death metal, because like that riff that kicks in when it's like it was like so different from everything else that was happening then, right? You had like the classic rock and the Van Halen had started and they'd been going and whatnot, but like that Randy Rhoads, there was something that he had, and you know, if he didn't die, I mean, there's always the talk of what could have that guy done if he didn't die. But I mean, those two guys are probably my big early influences, and then it would go on to guys like Steve Vai and Yngwie Malmsteen, Joe Satriani, and I kind of look at it as every era has got their guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe currently it's guys like maybe Jason Richardson and Tosin Abasi and guys like that. I mean, there's a whole host of amazing freaking guitar players out there right now. But like every era, like Paul Gilbert, Vinnie Moore back in the '80s, and Tony McAlpine. Those guys were kind of like the masters of doing their things in the late '80s, early '90s, mid '80s to I guess early '90s, and then guitar became out of vogue when when grunge kind of came in, right? And it or at least shredding guitar. Like guitars, I don't think guitar has ever really kind of gone out of vogue as much as media tries to tell you. But it's like the shred guitar kind of got out of vogue for a long time.
Yeah.
And but yeah, stuff like that. Just I've always been fascinated with just I guess music generally, and anything that's you to me at least that vibes with me and it's like that's a good song. That's kind of where I guess I'm a little bit more sort of tailored as a songwriter than a shred guitar player. I leave that up to the guys that always play with me.
Mm-hmm.
I look more at things as just how I write and what I write and those kind of influences. So
Nice.
yeah.
Speaking of grunge, did you hear that Puddle of Mud Nirvana cover?
Oh, that's painful. That's really painful. That's yeah, wow. That is I don't know how they allowed that to come out. Like at first I thought it was a joke, like one of those Shreds videos.
Yeah, me too.
And you'd think, "Oh, okay, this is," and then but it's like, "Wow, they're actually playing really well." Like the band plays pretty well. He seems to play his guitar fairly decently.
Then you get in 20 seconds and then the vocals come in.
And then those vocals start, and it's like, how, who okayed this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he seems to have had his struggles. Like, I don't know if it's drugs or alcohol, like, really badly. Because they've canceled a bunch of shows in the last few years where it's like 5 minutes before a show they cancel, or they're even in the middle of a gig and he walks off walks off stage a couple songs in, and the band just kind of keeps vamping, and they're like, do we keep playing? Like there's videos of that where on YouTube where they're like they just keep playing and you're like, this feels so bad, like awkward and bad. So
Yeah.
I mean I feel bad for the guy, but it's like, yeah, it's good entertainment, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. After something like that, it might be time to just hang it up. Like just stop before you tarnish your band.
Yeah. Well, I think they're beyond that, to be honest with you. I think it really seems like they've gone, or at least I don't want to say them because they're still part of it, but he's really kind of done them a disservice by his actions. And, yeah, that's my feeling on the whole thing. But yeah, that was painful.
Fair enough, man.
That was really painful.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So you play in a band called Obsidian. How did your band come together? You have members from France and Germany. Yeah, how'd that all start?
Whew. Yeah, that's a loaded question to some degree. I was doing sound for a buddy's show out in Surrey at this little pizza place in Surrey.
Olympia?
Olympia Pizza. You
Nice.
are correct.
Yes.
And I think what was I can't even remember the show, but so I do sound and I'm looking at my phone just going through in between bands or maybe during one of the bands. I don't know. It was a long time ago now. And I see a post from a friend of mine who's the manager of the Lawn and McQuaid by my place, and it says sorry to announce, or one of these things of great sadness that our longtime representative Steve Davis is got ALS. And I was like, what? And I just seen this guy a couple months before, like a month, maybe 2 months, 3 months beforehand. We'd be dealing with a digital mixer of mine that I'm literally sitting in front of right now, that I'd had problems literally out of the box, and he was dealing with these problems. And so I go, okay, man, I'm going to come in and see you. Like, I need to talk to you about this. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I go and see Kyle, the manager, and I'm on my way in. I'm going through the doors, and my buddy Jason is walking out. And as he was I'm walking in and he's walking out. We start talking for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, hey, dude, I gotta go. I gotta talk to Kyle about this and give him the explanation. He's like, okay, cool. I walk through, and as I'm walking through their rental to their keyboard department to Kyle's office, I hear this. Yeah, I'm looking for some guys to play in a metal band, kind of like that guy. And I'm like, what? And lo and behold, it's our drummer, Steph. And so he walks up, and we start talking for a bit. And I'm like, oh, hey, this is really cool. And we talk influences and what we're into and what's happened to him and his previous stuff. And he'd previously been living in Winnipeg and for about 5 years. And him and our bass player, Aurelia, they're both married. And they'd moved from Winnipeg to Vancouver just like a couple weeks, or maybe it was even the week before when I just met them.
Okay.
They'd been here a very short time from Winnipeg, and so we got talking. We exchanged numbers. I said, "Hey, if I don't get out of this meeting shortly, if you guys aren't still here, I'll give you a text or a call when I get home," kind of thing. So I get done the meeting, I get out, I look around, yeah, they're not here, go home, and give him a call, and he like, yeah, let's hang out. I'm like, okay. So he comes over here, listen to a few of the demos that I'd been working on, and he's like, yeah, it's right up the alley that we want to do, because what we were doing in Winnipeg was more of kind of like a rock band, dad rock band, and I was like, well, it's definitely not my thing. Definitely want to do more of the metal thing. And I mean, at the time, our kind of early grouping of influences would have been like Rammstein, Machine Head, and Meshuggah,
Mm-hmm.
and then Gojira, and then it kind of just started to expand as we went along. But that's kind of how we sort of found each other. And then a couple months later, in September, we jammed for the first time, and we'd put together about 3 songs, and we looked at each other after we were done jamming and went, do you want to keep going? Like, yeah, why not? And that's that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Speaking of Olympia Pizza, I saw you guys play there back in 2013, opening for Tyrant's Blood and the Goalers.
Yes,
Now,
you did.
I heard that that was your first show. Is that right?
I believe that is correct. Yes, I think that was our first show. It wasn't supposed to be our first show. We had a show out in Mission that was supposed to be our first show, and then that show got added after we'd already booked technically our first show. And so that ended up being our first show. So you saw our first show.
Awesome. All right. So you guys have opened for many big bands. Now, do you have any highlight moments?
Yeah, I got some highlights, some lowlights. I don't know what we want to talk about.
I mean, could throw a little bit of both in there.
Yeah, probably our highlight was a couple of them were opening for Cataclysm at the Red Room. It was very cramped. I mean, there was 3 double kick drum kits on stage of the Red Room. And if you've ever been to the Red Room, you know that the stage itself isn't exactly huge.
Mm-hmm.
To put a second drum kit on there, you could kind of get away with it. Putting a third drum kit on there is like everybody's fitting in a shoebox. I had about 2.5 square feet of room. And if you've ever seen me, you know I move around and jump, and I literally couldn't do anything, and I felt like a caged animal. That wasn't necessarily bad. It was a good show, and it really kind of sort of put us to our to the next level. That was our one of our first playing for an international national band, and probably our coolest one to date was the last one we just did in December, which was opening for Static X, and who was it? Wednesday 13, I think it was, had to bail out for some reason on a bunch of shows, and West of Hell got the second slot, and I messaged Rob from the Rickshaw and just said, hey, you got availability for this, because our new guitar player, to kind of dial things in a sort of different angle here, he right away when he came in, he was like, hey, I'm going to this Static X show. I've already got tickets, but do you think there's any chance we could get the opening slot? I'm like, I don't know who's putting this one on, and I don't know. I'm going to probably have to say no right now. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. So the backstory to that is that was like one of his favorite bands when he was growing up, right?
Yeah.
And so soon as he found out that band Wednesday 13 dropped off, he messaged me and he's like, can we get on the show? Can we get on the show? And I'm like, okay, let me just put in a few words. Let me see what's going on. So I contact Rob, and Rob's like, you guys really want to do that? And I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. He's like, okay, cool. So it was like, contact the band. Yeah, everybody's like, yeah, we're in. And I'm like, okay, contact Rob again. Yeah, we're cool. We're good. And so we played that, and it was, even when we played, which was opening slot, we played to pretty much a packed house. It was one of the fullest shows, other than maybe Zimmer's Hole. That was probably one of the more full shows I've seen at the Rickshaw. I mean, I know there's been more. There was one, I can't remember who it was completely over capacity.
I think it was Propagandy.
That might have been one of them.
Yeah.
There's been a couple that they've literally oversold.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't move there's no room. Zimmer's Hole was pretty close to that. That was almost, I guess, a year ago or something.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But no, that was cool. Probably one of the more downer ones for us was the opening up for Hypocrisy and Flesh God Apocalypse. Just because we run in-ears with our setup, and we've got like click and backing tracks that we play to. And if we're not hearing everything properly, it could be a bit of a train wreck. And that was one of those situations where I believe it was not the house guy, the touring sound guy / I think it's their road manager, literally who said, you can't use channel 3, channel 7, channel 9, channel whatever. And we're in most situations, we can either jump off of things digitally, or we can patch off of their system 1-to-1. Mm-hmm. Well, they were already pre-patched. Nothing could be touched there. But when you lock out the channels on a Midas M32, it's very hard to 1-to-1 digitally send the information so that it lines up. It's not impossible, but for the amount of time that we had, it wasn't possible. Like, it would have taken our entire set, and we probably would have got one song in and went, oh, okay, thanks, good night.
Yeah.
So yeah, we played our first song, and it was a bit of a train wreck when the middle section came in, and then I think we played fairly decently from the rest out. But yeah, that was a bit of a rough show. Yeah. We were able to make up for it about a month or two later, playing the Astoria in Vancouver with some good buddies. Cosm, I don't know if you can see that. Yep. I can't see it. My picture on the phone is so small; it's hard to see. But yeah, we played with our good buddies Cosm and Death Machine. The three of us played 2 nights, Vancouver and then Kelowna. Death Machine's from Kelowna.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a nice makeup for it. But yeah, that was probably one of our worst shows. You know, sometimes you get off stage, you're like, oh, I wish I played better, but that was one of those ones where we just went, let's just put it in the past and forget about it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, though. You don't want to get down
Yeah.
on yourselves because that's kind of unavoidable at that point. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right, man. So what was your first exposure to the local scene?
Who? I think it was. I mean, oh, I don't want to say I've got a pretty good memory, but I think it might have been a Devin Townsend pre Strapping Young Lad when one of his bands, Gray Skies.
Okay.
He had well, technically he had three, but he had two bands of his own before Strapping. Gray Skies, and then he had Noisescapes, and then he ended up going and, well, I guess it would have been four. Played for Steve Vai, and then after Steve Vai, he ended up playing for a band briefly that a lot of people don't realize called the Wild Hearts. They're kind of more of like a rock band from England. And funny enough, I was taking some friends to the airport, and he was flying out. He's just sitting in the corner, kind of like trying to be all chill. And he's on his way flying out to go to the Wild Hearts tour. And I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, oh, hey. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm flying out to go do this. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm taking these guys to fly back to Australia. Yeah, so it was one of those, weird happenstances. But yeah, I think it was like a Devon show. I can't remember who else was playing. I think it might have been a couple buddies bands, that sort of thing. Might have been some house parties along the way, that sort of thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been the first, like, at a club that would have been local bands, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. So you had mentioned that you have a new guitar player. How's that transition been? Has that affected the writing process at all?
It's been good. The writing process has been similar, different. I don't know. It's when we first got together, we were jamming in a space where we had a hourly rental, and we would go in and we would jam for 6 hours, and then we'd set up our gear, jam, pack our gear up, and go home.
Mm-hmm.
And or the guy that we jammed with jammed at his space, Music Makers, it was always really good with us, and he would give us like extra hours without charging us, and let us set up early and tear down late if there was no one coming in, or if we wanted to like go extra, he would usually be okay with it. So we got a lot out of it, and usually what we would do is we would have like generally solid song ideas or sections or riffs really mapped out before we showed up to jam. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't just jam at the jam space just to try to work on stuff, because we wanted to maximize our time. So in the last, I guess it's been year and a half now, we built our own jam space, and so that now we can just literally just jam whenever we want, and jam, as opposed to, okay, well, I got a full song and this is how we need to do it. There's a little bit of that happens, because I mean, when you write something, sometimes you got a vision, an idea of how you want something, and sometimes you're like, got a riff, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And so I with this new album, there's been a lot more of, I got a riff and I don't know what to do with it, and then maybe you jam at jam, and maybe something comes of it, and then you take it home and you listen to what because we can literally jam like a recording. When we jam, we can multi-track record our jams. Mm-hmm. And I can bring everything home, and I listen to it on my big system, like in this room, and then go, yeah, okay, that's cool, I'll take that, work on some things, come back the next week and go, okay, this is what I got. With the addition of our new guitar player, Carmelo, he's been great. He's got a lot of stage experience, a lot of recording experience, a lot of writing experience. He used to front his own band called Radio Kill, and there was another one, and I can't remember it. And I actually used to jam with him in a variation of the band called Radio Kill years back. And that band actually had Dan Yakima from Nylithia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
and that's where I met Dan initially. So, as a sidetrack, funny story. We'd finished that band. It kind of broke up, and then he kind of Mel got most of the original members back of Radio Kill, I think under a different name, and so I'm at a show out in Abbotsford, and it was a buddy of mine had come from Kelowna to play, and I hadn't seen him in ages, so I'm like, okay, well, it's a bunch of us trucked out to this show, and I see this drummer, and I'm like, man, this guy looks familiar. And we were about halfway through their set, and I'm like, because his hair was long at the time, and
Okay.
when I jam with him, he looks like Dan looks like right now, fairly short hair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I walk up after they play, I'm like, hey man, how's it going? He's like undoing his pedals, he looks up and he's like, holy shit. What are you doing here? I'm like, more like, what are you doing here? So, we got talking and whatnot, and Dan actually engineered on a recording I did at the Armory a few years back that I'm still haven't quite put out yet. It's been sitting and waiting, and the only reason that is because once we got Obsidian rolling, I literally anything that I'd been working on had been pushed to the back burner. So it's been very much deal with this band, and everything else gets sort of second fiddle. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, Dan was in that band, Mel was in that band, a few other buddies and whatnot, and kind of one of those things where you're like, didn't realize where everybody would go and come to. And then Mel ended up going and playing with a band called Edges of Seven. They're a little bit more kind of like a industrial rock band, and they got two big tries, at least. I can't remember what the labels were. Like, I think it was like Warner and Sony. Mel can correct me on this. But they showcased twice down in LA for labels. Didn't work out for them, but not many guys get to say they literally literally showcased at SIR in LA for for major labels, right? So
Yeah.
so he's, like I said, he's got some great experience. He's a great player. Comes up with great stuff. He's contributed pretty much an entire song with some, making it sound like what we do, vibe to it, and contributed lots of great ideas within the existing songs before he got to us, of all the new stuff on the new album I'm talking, and lots of great solos. There's going to be some really cool solos on this new stuff, so we're very excited to get this out to everybody whenever that is going to end up being.
Sweet. I look forward to
Yeah.
hearing it.
So do I. I hear it every day.
You got to be sick of it by now, then.
It's funny, we were just talking about that amongst the band the other day, and Steph's like, yeah, I can't wait to get back and start jamming. I don't get to hear these songs, and he goes, I know that you must be sick of them because you have to listen to them every day, because I do all our recording and editing and
Mixing and whatnot, yeah.
and all that, yeah. And I'm like, you have no idea. I'm already ready to start working on like the 6th album.
Wow.
We're only on our 4th, so the hypothetical joke of being like, okay, I don't even want to deal with the 5th. I'm already
Jumping right to the 6th.
I'm just gonna jump right to the 6th album. Yeah. But I mean, I've got to write the lyrics and stuff, so I've got a CD in my car that it hasn't even moved since January or February, of just like raw drum tracks and scratch guitars,
Mm-hmm.
of just so I can just sit there and listen and go, okay, I got an idea, and just voice dictate some vocal ideas or whatever, and yeah, so that's where we're at.
Cool, man. All right. So I recently talked to Spencer from Truant. Now, you guys had toured together not too long ago. Like, what was it, like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, I think it was about a year and a half ago, almost two.
Nice.
So this September will be 2 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any tour stories you can share?
Oh, there's a few things. Lots of driving. You know, people sleeping. I think me and Matt did the bulk of the driving. Johnny drove a little bit, and everybody else slept. So yeah, Johnny drove quite a bit between I think Calgary and Edmonton. Well, Edmonton and Calgary, and then he drove quite a bit. No, that was Matt. Me and Matt drove that stretch, and then on the way because we had to go from Calgary to Kelowna, and Johnny literally
Bit of a drive, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a drive, and he just like full champed that one out and drove the bulk of that like through all the mountains and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm tired. I need to sleep. I drove most of the drive for everything, but yeah, I had to tap out at that point. I mean, I think I had like probably like a total of like say if we drove 4 days, I drove literally 3 of the days out of everything kind of thing at that point. So, but I don't mind driving. So,
Cool.
funny tour stories. Well, we had a weird one not Edmonton, in Calgary, and we were supplying the back line for drums and cabs for the entire tour for like opening bands and everything, just to make everything easy.
Yeah.
So the opening band in Calgary was like, "Yeah, we need to get this drum kit off the stage." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, well, I bringing my drum kit." And I'm like, "Well, no, we're supplying the kit for everybody." Well, that doesn't work for me. I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't care. This is not your show. I don't mean to be a dick, but this is what's going on." The promoter, the promoter has been dealt with this. They know. Okay, whatever. All right, I'll deal with it. So he starts setting it up. I bring all my own drum mics, of all our own mics, period. But so he ended up taking the mic off of the snare, and it's got a weird clip that locks onto the snare.
Yeah.
And he just yanked it off, and he broke the clip. And he's
Okay.
like, "Yeah, I don't know, this thing broke. I tried to take it off and it broke." Not even 15 minutes later or earlier, Steph had told him, he's like, "If you need to move any of the mics, just let one of us know, because they're a little tricky to work with. We'll deal with it. Just let us know." Yeah, whatever, man.
Goes and breaks another one.
He goes and breaks the snare one, which is
Okay.
like, it's whatever. We were able to kind of deal with it through the rest. It was like 2 more shows. Basically just strap the thing onto the snare every night. But he literally had a meltdown and was like, because I come up to him, I'm like, "Hey, did you break this?" "Yeah, I know. It was like that when I got here." I'm like, "No, my drummer just talked to you and said if you need to deal with this, get one of us. We'll take care of it. And you fucking broke it." And he's like, "Whatever, man. You don't need to be like this." I'm like, "Dude, this is a $60 mic clip." "Well, whatever. Fuck you." And he started packing up his gear and he left. And I'm like, "What?" So the bass player was like, "Dude, I am so sorry." And he's just like, here, he like literally pulls money out of his wallet and he goes, how much is that?" I'm like, "It's about $60. He's like, "Here, let me." I'm like, no, I don't want money from anyone. I wasn't asking for money. He was
asking
just
for an apology.
I'm asking for an apology. I'll walk away and I'm fine. Just give me an apology. He was being a total dick about it, about the whole thing the whole time. "Well, he just wanted to play his kid. He didn't know what was going on. I'm like, "That's not my problem. You broke shit. At least apologize. He wouldn't
Yeah.
even do that. And he's like, yeah, I know. We've been having a hard time dealing. I'm like, that's not my problem. He comes up to me and at least he apologized, right? Whereas the other guy just packed up his shit and went home.
Yeah.
It was just, anyways. So, but yeah, that was probably like the weird one of the whole thing. But I'll tell you a couple off camera of a couple stories that I don't want to embarrass anybody.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So if you could collaborate with any musician, living or dead, who would it be?
Just one?
I'll give you 5.
5?
Yeah.
Gene Hoglan, Devin Townsend, both for separate reasons, not because of strapping. Chuck Schullander, maybe?
It's a good choice.
Yeah. Let's see. My buddy in Texas who sings for Galactic Cowboys, Ben Huggins. He's a great singer. I would go there. Doug Pinnick, King's X, who actually opened our when they played here at the Red Room, Devin Townsend Band opened up for them. I think that was one of their last shows as Devin Townsend Band, and then they became Devin Townsend Project. I mean, one of probably, but yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that would probably be my 5. I mean, that might change tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone wanting to start a band?
Just starting a band?
Just starting a band or struggling to keep a band together?
Struggle. Ooh. First thing I would say would be, you can edit this out. I don't have the corona. I got a little something in my throat. Save your money, your band money. Keep that as band fund. Get a bank account. Get somebody you rely on in the band that can be
handle
the
the money.
Yeah, handle the money. Be the accountant. I've seen too many bands that are like, yeah, we buy smokes and beer and whatever drugs with our band money, and it's like, and you have no money left. When both us and Truett came back on our tour, we both came back with money. We had to rent a van, rent the backline gear, and we still came out with a good amount of money. And when I told some bands that, they're like,
how'd you do that?
Yeah, how did you come back with money? I said, well, we didn't drink. None of us are real heavy drinkers, really. None of us do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Nick from Truant quit smoking weed on that tour, and he hasn't smoked weed since. Oddly enough. But yeah, so we just were, we didn't, any money we spent for food and whatever, we just spent it out of our own pocket and just considered it an expense of our own. And the band basically came back, and I think we were around close to $1,000 or something when we came back for just over a week tour. So, not exceptionally amazing, but not, we weren't in the hole.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, with most bands, they end up just breaking even, if not losing money.
Oh, losing money for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My other suggestion would be, there's an important thing, especially if you're going on tour. This is one thing that you definitely need is this. And when because you put this on the crotchal region, this will keep the stank down because you might not be able to shower for days at a time. Baby powder is a lifesaver. It makes you smell half decent. Well, and you can pretty much put it on anywhere.
Yeah.
And the other thing would be get your gear off stage as quick as you can. Don't sit there and chat and high five with your buddies. There's bands behind you that want to get on stage. Don't be the band that puts everybody 15, 20, 30 minutes behind.
Mm-hmm.
we've always been a band that's been like, okay, we get up there quick, we get off there quick. And we leave it up to everybody else to either mess it up or keep it on time. We did Armstrong last year. They were 10 minutes behind when we started, and we put them 5 minutes ahead when we finished. And we still played our full set.
Nice.
Yeah. And so it's when you can do that, little things like that, bands and promoters notice, right?
Yeah.
So and practice and be good at your instrument.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing I think you could add to that list, not only the baby powder, but the baby wipes. Now, the festival shower. That's what I consider that, going to Armstrong in the last few years.
Armstrong does have showers.
Okay.
Most people don't know where they are, and I'm not going to tell you because I don't want too many people to know about them. There are showers in the bathrooms in the Gen Pop camping area. Yeah, there is showers there. Same with Loud as Hell. Loud as Hell in both bathrooms. Have you been to Loud as Hell?
I went once. I went in 2018.
Okay, so you walk into the guy's bathroom, and then it's like there's the sink stalls, and then the pisser stalls, and then the shitters down on the other end.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as you walk in and you turn to your left, right there's a door. That's a shower.
Really?
Yes. I found that out the first day, and we were like, keep this on the down low. Don't anyone know. We don't need a fucking lineup.
Yeah.
So, because they were like, yeah, there's no showers, blah, 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 this, that, next thing. We're like, they're lying to us. Love you, Jeff. You're amazing. Jeff from Loud as Hell.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, we when we found that out, we literally were like, don't tell anybody. Because as soon as people know, they're like, we're going to shower every day. And we were like, we'd walk out with like a towel around our shoulder and stuff. And people would be like, where did you shower? We're like, oh, we just kind of did a little bird bath action, Yeah. So sometimes it's important to keep some, important information to yourself. But now that everybody knows that, now I feel shame.
Yeah, man. Loud as Hell is a great festival. I actually went up there with Ninja Spy when they were, I think, the Saturday night headliners.
Oh, okay.
In 2018?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and we were only there for a day. We caught a bit of Friday, and then we left the Sunday morning, I think. Or midday of Sunday. So.
Yeah, that's kind of what we did when we left. There's a lot of great bands on the Sunday, and we should have stayed.
Yeah.
But we had, what was it, Goat Horror headlined on the Sunday, or was it Sunday? Yeah, I guess it's Sunday.
It would be Sunday. I think,
Sunday, yeah. And we decided to leave basically after the pancake breakfast on the Sunday afternoon, like around 11 their time, or maybe it was 11 our time, or whatever. And just basically decided to book it out and make the drive. And then we got stuck in an accident that happened. What should have been what is that drive, like 13 hours or something?
Something like that.
Ish.
Yeah.
Ended up being like, oh dear God, like we got home at 4 a.m. the next day. So so it was like 16 plus hours, 17 hours or something.
Yeah.
It was ugly. Yeah. It was like, I guess a semi swerved around a corner, like just past Revelstoke. That's where it was. And hit, I guess, 4 or 5 cars or something. I'm gonna assume somebody died because they didn't release any of the information. They just said somebody got helicoptered out, like medevaced out. So, other than that, yeah. But no, that was a good time. I mean, we did well on that one on merch and stuff, and we did really good on merch at Armstrong as well last year. So.
Nice.
But, we ended up not having any festivals for this year, and...
I mean, I feel
that
like even if you booked it... Yeah, I was going to say, even if you booked it, I don't know it would even happen. You know,
yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen with Loud as Hell now? I highly doubt Armstrong's happening.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Jesse in a little while. I talked to him about a week ago.
Yeah.
Is that too high? Or am I okay there?
No,
That's
you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I talked to him about a week ago, and they were having a meeting to decide whether they're going to go forward or just keep waiting, I guess.
Yeah.
But they haven't made any official announcements yet. I think Loud as Hell might be okay because they're late enough more in the summer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. You hear so many things, especially on social media, like, oh, the corona is this and it's that and it's whatever. But it's like, one of the ones I heard is it can't survive above 24 degrees Celsius or 27.
Yeah.
So basically, once summer hits, it's basically should be eliminated is the thinking. I don't know.
See,
but yeah.
the thing they're also saying about that, though, is that there might be a second wave in the fall if they don't come up with a vaccine.
Yeah.
For it, right?
Yeah. And there's theories behind all that too, and I don't know. I like to stay as far away from most of that as possible. I dabble in the conspiracies. I don't wear the tin hat, but just to kind of just okay. So what are you talking about? Like I heard a few things that a buddy of mine's really. I don't want to say he's deeply into the conspiracies. Like he's got some friends that are,
Alex Jones level.
Oh, they might be even beyond Alex Jones. Like deep tinfoil hat wearing, like beyond frogs are going gay. Yeah, like they were talking about how what was it that they're gonna when after the election, doesn't matter who wins, they're going to shut basically, I don't know if it's the States or the world, everything is going to go on lockdown 100%. Like where we're as, self-quarantining, it's going to be martial law, like lockdown. I don't know how true that is or if that's accurate. I heard something about like Trudeau, if anyone's listening that's not from Canada, our prime minister is Trudeau. So he had implemented martial law, but they haven't exercised it. So meaning that it's basically on the table, but he hasn't pushed it forward in the sense of they I guess feeling they don't need to yet. But the plan is that in the first week to 2 weeks that they were actually going to put the country in full lockdown when this started. Mm-hmm. Which obviously it hasn't happened, which I feel is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. We're living in weird times.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this before. So, yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that.
Let's get hopefully more positive things.
Yeah.
Okay. A bit of a
downer.
Yeah.
But hey, to be honest, people probably expect us to be talking about it too.
Yeah, just to some degree.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah. All right. If you could tour with any band right now, who would it be? Hell, I'll give you 5 bands you can tour
5
with.
bands.
5 bands. Yeah.
Well, if you gave me 6, it would be more metal, but I don't know if I could do. Oh no, I could do 6. 5. Strapping Young Lad. Rammstein.
Yep.
Meshuggah. Gojira. And because they are probably the biggest metal band ever, Metallica, and not because it would be ironic or whatever, but, you would literally get exposed to audiences you would never get to play for in your entire life for the amount of people that they play for. And probably a 1, like a 6 or a 5B, probably Iron Maiden, and not because I like them by any means, but same thing, because they have a rabid fan base that's insane, and if you could win a few of those people over, you probably have fans for life.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen? You've seen Metallica before.
I've never seen them.
You've never seen Metallica? Okay, so
no, which is weird, and I grew up loving that band, and I'd never seen them.
I have seen them twice now. Actually, funny enough, back in 2008, that was my first concert. I saw Metallica, Lamb of God, and The Sword play.
Where was that?
That was back when Rogers Arena was GM Place.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that the when they were filming the movie?
No, this was on the Death Magnetic tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
They filmed the movie, I think, in 2012, and they did 3 shows. 3 shows. It was
Four.
4 shows. I know
I
one
think it
was
was
like,
four. Three or four. Yeah. I was in Kelowna, Kelowna or Seminarm. I can't remember. Somewhere in that area. And me and a buddy were going to bust back, not bust back to
yeah.
try to get back. And because they were selling tickets for the last day for $9
Well, you know why they were doing that, right?
to try to fill up the arena.
Well, that, and I think all the proceeds went to the food bank as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But also, I think CFox maybe had a hand in it. I think it was like a $9.93 ticket or some
Yeah.
garbage like
I was
that.
also out of town. I would have fucking loved to have been there.
I would have went to it. Yeah.
Because the
would
whole
that-
production for that show, too.
Ooh.
Not only the band itself, but the whole show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy enough, it's a band I've never seen.
Did you end up seeing the movie?
No.
No?
I've seen bits and pieces, but no, I've never seen the movie. I mean, to be honest with you, since like post Black Album, I've really, I'll listen to whatever new stuff comes out, but it really doesn't appeal to me. And it's not that it's not well done. It's just I don't know what it is.
It seems bland.
It seems like rehab. And what I mean by that is that, James had it like, well, put it this way.
They lost their edge when they put out the Black Album.
No, I don't think they lost their edge when they put out the Black Album. I think they still had their edge when they put out their Black Album, and a lot of people will disagree with me.
Mm-hmm.
They lost their edge when they got $150+ million between the two main guys, and everybody else below them made somewhere between 50 and 30 million each. Because of that album. So how hard is it to sit there and be angsty when you've got $150 million in the bank, or even $30 million in the bank?
Yeah.
You're probably going, yeah, you know what? We could kind of rewrite this last album and just and ride that. Because I mean, if you look at the way their albums have went, you got Kill 'Em All,
Yeah.
really raw. And then it jumps into Ride the Lightning. And it gets a little bit more produced. There's some things about that one. It's not my favorite album. A lot of people seem to love it. And then they get into Master Puppets, really hyper slick production for the day, and the songwriting was just over the top. And then they tried to go, for the time, super as tech as you could go for thrash. And they hit their pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you go from there, right? So they go and they do the Black Album. Well, if you look at the Black Album and then the albums that they put out after that, those 3 albums after that, Black Album, Load, and Reload, almost are kind of like a package.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because they really have a same kind of vibe. Those 2 albums, I think they were essentially recorded in all the same place. Bob Rock, produced them. I don't blame Bob Rock necessarily for all that. I think that was more Metallica. That's what they wanted to do. I don't blame them for it. Hey, they're the biggest metal band in the world. How can you blame them?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more of they got to a point where how much bigger can you get? Like they're the biggest metal rock band, whatever you want to call them, for the time, and they've been riding that. They went from arenas to stadiums. What are you going to do beyond stadiums? Okay, 500,000 million people festival. Okay, you do that a few times. Okay, well, what do we do now? Well, let's play every continent on the world. Okay, we've done that. What more do we do? There's nothing.
You could do the Kiss thing and just play for a bunch of sharks that never even showed up in the video.
I heard something. I saw something about that. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, what more can that band do? I mean, realistically, I don't necessarily blame them for any of the stuff that they've done. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm not like one of these guys that like shits all over them. I shit all over Lars because I think he's kind of a terrible drummer. From what I understand, he's a pretty stand-up guy. As much as people seem to hate him, like when Fear Factory toured with them, the Lars and James are taking those guys out for dinner like every night, and that's stuff you don't hear. And it's like, yeah, dude's a stand-up dude. Is he a bit of a dweeb? Sure.
Yeah.
Is he a bit of a jackass because of the whole Napster thing? I mean, that still rides over his head. Because everybody looks at it as Lars less than it is the whole Metallica thing. Now, were they wrong in what they did? I personally don't think so, because look at where the music industry is now.
Yeah.
You get signed to a label, and then what? Back then, you get signed to a label, at least you have the potential to have a career. Now it's like, well, you could do it on your own. Does anyone, come on, does anyone honestly have the money to finance a band to get to the places you need to be, radio, video, whatever the media is these days, so that you get to enough outlets that your name gets out there to such a degree that you get known, not famous, just get known. And then it's up, then it's on your shoulders to carry that football.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, worries. I'm
okay.
Basically done with that.
Speaking of Lars not being a very good drummer, I don't know if you've seen this video. So Metallica covers "Am I Evil" on occasion.
Yep.
Like they used to do it with the Big Four.
Yep.
There's a video out there, and Lars fucks up the intro to "Am I Evil," which is that very basic yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how you messed that up, but
there's a few rehearsal room videos and Metallica's even put them out. And they've got the little Metallica branding in the corner.
Yeah.
And
they're not doing themselves any favors with that.
I don't know if they're trying to just make themselves look more human or more maybe it's likable.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I just watched this. My buddy Peter Riccafonte just posted this. How did Pantera get to be the biggest metal band for the time? And so I don't know if you've seen any of these guys' videos. He's like a hardcore guy, and he
is it like the hardcore MBA or something?
Yeah, hardcore. That's it. Yeah. So he does this Pantera one, and so I see whatever it was, 20 minutes, an hour, or whatever it was. Watch this video, and one of the things he said that was actually really cool that you don't really think about. It's like, why did Pantera get as big as they did? And he goes, well, they preceded the internet. Right? You didn't have just throw up an internet video and do this. So they had those 3 videos that they did, the home videos. They had the first one from Cowboys from Hell, the second one, the vulgar videos, and then the third one, I think it's just called 3 or something, right? Yeah. He goes, that gave you an insight into, because you looked at these guys and if you saw their videos, you're like, wow, those are a bunch of angry dudes. But then you see this and it's like, wow, they like to party. They're just like us. And that really probably... it took them kind of a little bit to the next level of, yeah, I can vibe with these guys, right?
So it pretty much just humanizes them.
Exactly. Yeah. It puts a human element to them because, I mean, especially with a band that's a Metallica that's that big, there's got people, and I know people that literally go, they can do no wrong. I don't care. There's nothing they can do. They can do no wrong, and it's like, have you heard Lars play drums? He is the best drummer in the world, and there's nothing you can say to convince me otherwise. And you can't. So the problem is you can't argue with that, regardless of how much you know about music theory, syncopation. All of the musical terms that you can throw at people, and they will look you straight dead in the eye and go, "Lars is the best drummer in the world." And you're like, "But have you heard even Gene Hoglan or Alex Rudiger?" Or
Spencer Pruitt, or
anyone.
These super technical drummers.
Exactly, and they're like, but what you got to remember, and this is, I think, a big thing, especially with music, is where does it connect with people? And if that band connects with that group of people, there's no arguing, and I don't think there should be. Lars might be the one, and I keep throwing I made this meme years ago where it says, Am I the best drummer in the world? No. Do I try as hard as I can every day to be the best drummer in the world? Also no. Um, so I'll send it to you. I think I got it on my desktop here.
Yeah.
But it just really, to me, that really just shows that's kind of what I get from Lars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could be wrong, and maybe he works his ass off daily, weekly, hourly, monthly, whatever, and really tries to perfect his craft, but I really don't think he does. He seems to be more into art, wine, whatever else that guy's into.
It's almost like he's trolling everybody in a way. Maybe the way
he
he puts
is.
himself off. You know,
maybe he's playing 4D chess and we're playing checkers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe he's just that far advanced on the troll, and we just don't get it. And maybe Saint Anger was a giant troll. I have a theory that it really was.
What, the whole garbage can snare?
Well, no, the whole production of that album. I mean, they recorded it essentially in a garage. I think they've recorded their last few albums in that same rehearsal space of theirs. But the thing is that album, you listen to it. That's the last one they did with Bob Rock. And if you listen to Bob Rock production, his production's slick.
Mm-hmm.
That production was like as bad as Kill 'Em All. And I'm not saying Kill 'Em All is a bad album. What I'm saying is the production sounds like a demo.
Yeah, so it's like a black metal production in a way.
A little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, early 90s black metal production.
Yeah.
Less potato-y. there's less potatoes in the mix. But yeah, but you listen to Saint Anger, and it's like kind of like a slightly better produced, or better sounding, maybe not better produced, but better sounding Kill 'Em All. And I think maybe that's what they were going for, but I think the joke was, let's try to put out the worst sounding album we can for the day.
And sell it.
And see if people buy it.
Yeah.
And they did. I believe that album sold over 5 million copies.
Wow. Well, I mean, people still bitch about it, though.
Oh, yeah. But there's people that I've seen people say that's one of my favorite albums. And I don't know how. I don't know how it's possible, but there are people out there that's their favorite album.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, we might not have gotten a good album out of them, but hey, we got some good memes. I don't know if you've seen, there's one that went around not too long ago. It was like a Homer Simpson meme. So it was him chasing a garbage truck. It's like, wait, I have garbage, and it's like, and it's Saint Anger.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I probably have, but yeah, that's funny. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. We'll kind of cut it off there.
Let's. Yeah, we talked about Metallica for way longer than I would ever want to.
Yeah, no kidding. All right.
If you want to talk about early Metallica, sure, but
yeah. All right. I got one more question for you. Well, it's not really a question. Do you have anything else that you would like to plug album-wise or music-wise?
How do you mean? Like
your works, like anything coming out? Like, I know you're talking about a new album and everything, but...
Yeah, we got a new album coming out. We're in the middle of recording, and every day I plug away in our self-quarantine of just, keeping the album rolling. Because we got the drums, the bass, rhythm guitars, and about half of the leads were done before all this shutdown happened.
Okay.
And so I've got our backing tracks. Most of the songs are, I think I'm about 80-90% there for backing tracks and like sample intros and stuff like that. And I'm hoping this week or next weekend, I'm probably going to start vocals. About same thing. I'm about like somewhere around 80-ish% done the lyrics for everything. So hopefully I'll be rolling on that in the next little while. I'm self-contained enough that I could just keep going without having to worry about like, I got to go to a studio and get this stuff done, which is nice for us. And I'm not downplaying anybody that's got to do that, because there's lots of great guys out there that do Matt Roach and a bunch of other guys that do great work for guys in town here. It's just we're fortunate enough that I've got all my own gear that I can. And
you have the know-how and whatnot to be able to do it. Yeah,
and I've been doing this for a fair amount of time. Yeah, I know Truant's going to be, I I think me and Spencer were talking. I think the last thing he said was probably the fall. It looks like they're going to start tracking their album. We're planning on, hopefully, if everything sort of turns around here, we're hoping to have a CD release show and a CD release, whatever, just the album's out in October. Has been the plan. And then I think Damage Plan. Oh, not Damage Plan.
Damage Plan?
Not Damage Plan. No. Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
Technical Damage.
Technical Damage. Yes,
Yeah.
Damage. Technical Damage has got I think they've started recording. I know they did their pre-production and bed tracks at the studio that they're going to be tracking at, but I don't know how far along they are. I'll have to talk to Curtis and see where they're at. And I know there's a couple others. I know Cosm's working on material, but I don't think they're anywhere near ready to record. Death Machine just put out a couple new singles.
I heard them. They're pretty solid.
Yeah, they're really good. Check those out on their Bandcamp page. And I'm pretty sure Liberatia's got some stuff coming out within the next couple weeks. They just posted something. They might be putting out a new video or do something. I'm not sure. Just trying to think who else, because X-Pain put out their EP in the fall. I know they got an album they're going to be working on. They were supposed to be working on this year. That's about it. And maybe if I get my pseudo solo project done, maybe that'll come out this year, but highly doubtful. I've been working on that for longer than this band has been in existence. And I've just been sitting there and I look at the file folder on my computer and go, yeah, I really need to do something with that. I feel shame.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to add, or is that's about it?
We're going to have some, the new album when we drop the new album, hopefully in October. We've got some new merch that our bass player takes care of most of the merch end of things. She does the displays and sells and takes care of all that stuff. But she's got a bunch of new things that she's worked on that we'll have for whenever we play again. Hopefully we get to play again.
Yeah,
fingers crossed or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. We got to get some new shirt designs, I think, fairly soon. I think we're close to sold out of almost everything. We just sold out of a bunch on the last couple shows, the Winterfest and the Static X show. We sold a bunch of stuff to the point where we're like, okay, we're out of that design. We're out of that design now. So, yeah. But yeah, I think we got to get a bunch of new shirt designs. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's it. I don't know.
Cool, man. Well, that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you doing the show. It's good talking to you.
It was awesome, Jay. It's great to talk to you. Good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when did I see you last? Actually.
Did
you?
It would have been a show. It would have been a show.
Did I see you at Winterfest or did?
Yes, you would have seen me at Winterfest.
No. Oh, I think I saw you at a show after that though. I think I had a story or something. I think I saw you and Scott at a show.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. That would make sense.
That would make sense. You guys, I swear, if I don't see you guys together, it's like, what's wrong?
I'll occasionally go to a show on my own.
Yeah.
Or my girlfriend will come with me.
He's like your gig wife. I love Scott. He's great. I've delivered a couple shirts and CDs to him out at his place. Because he's like, hey, you can just mail it to me. I'm like, dude, no, I'm not going to save you postage. I'll just drive out. I'm in that area all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, actually. Funny enough. Have you heard of Broken Neck Radio?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah, they play us on there all the time.
Nice. So...
Yeah.
There was a radio host. His name is Sean Harris. He doesn't really do anything anymore with Broken Neck Radio.
Okay.
But we used to listen to his show, and thered be like a chat pit where you could like chat with like the host and everyone. There'd be like 6 regulars.
Okay.
And I actually met Scott through that. And then we ended up meeting in person at an Olympia Pizza show.
Nice.
A year later. And then since we've been going to shows together for quite a while. So
Yeah, that could have been a good thing. Boy, they really screwed themselves there.
What,
They
at Broken Neck?
no, Olympia.
Yeah.
They like it was like for a small kind of, all ages with a bar kind of thing. They the last show we did there, they're like, okay, anything you do after this, we want. I think it was like $500 or $700 down, and then you had to pay on top of that after. And I was just like, yeah, okay, that's cool. And I'm like, yeah, I could book the rickshaw for the same price.
Yeah. See, was this after they became the Peacock, or was this?
It was, yeah, whoever bought it, the lady or whatever that bought it from Lord or whatever his name was,
Yeah,
the Filipino guy.
Yeah.
He
The cook.
The cook, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when he sold it to the whoever, I can't remember, but because she was giving me all these numbers, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, this isn't gonna fly. Like,
Yeah,
I
no
didn't
kidding.
say it. I just was like, not even gonna get into discussion. That's not worth. You don't have $200 worth of stuff that makes this worthwhile.
No
You
kidding.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's unfortunate, but they could have had a good thing going because every time there was a show there, it would generally be decently packed. People were buying food and booze.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and whatnot, right? So, yeah,
No, I've always thought it sucked because Vancouver really doesn't have much of an all ages scene
no,
at all.
it hasn't.
So that's
for a
kind of
long
all
time.
that's kind of all we had. We had that, and we had 333.
and both of those are
333 is gone now.
gone.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there's what's the one place? They kind of occasionally have shows there. Oh, what the hell is that place called? Not Sealand. It's in Vancouver.
CBDBs.
Oh yeah, CBDBs, I guess, but they're mostly doing punk shows there.
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing a lot of metal shows, or
No,
they haven't.
I talked to Spencer about this. They do. It's mostly just hardcore shows and punk shows right now.
Oh, okay.
And I think it might
Yeah.
just be because they don't have a PA that would support most metal bands, because a lot of metal bands use like the super digital like shit, like a hired advanced equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of our problem too. We got to be fairly selective on places that we play.
Yeah.
So like, we've literally just gone out on a Friday or Saturday and just checked out venues that like, hey, we'd like you to play here, and we'll go around and go, yeah,
You can't
doesn't-
facilitate what we.
Yeah, it's not
facilitate
going to
what we
work
do.
for us.
Yeah.
Like early on, we could kind of make things work, but we're at such a point with our production,
Mhm.
it just doesn't work. And I know it sounds so very like we're so much better, but it's not that. It's like we want to deliver a good performance, so we can't dumb down what we're doing just to facilitate a room that doesn't have the gear that would
Yeah.
support what we're doing, right? So
Fair
it
enough.
sucks because there's been a few shows that we've had to turn down that we're like, that would have been a great show,
Mhm.
but yeah.
All right, man. I think I'm gonna cut it off here.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
Oh, for sure, Jay.
Cool.
It's great talking to you, man. Take care.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.